And we are there, here on this lowly ground. Teach me how to repent, for that's as good. Ist thou hast sealed my pardon with thy blood.
You're listening to Tachyon Radio, the station that's so far in front, it meets itself coming back.
Coming up now on Tachyon Radio is another group chat with the Tameside Paranormal Research Group.
This is Dave from Tameside Paranormal Researchers.
And this is Steve from Tameside Paranormal Researchers.
And we thought we'd take a little bit of time to speak about why it's important to conduct paranormal investigations and some of the reasons people might want paranormal investigators to go into their home or business or property in general and get help from people like us, if you like.
Yeah, that's true, that, because going in, a very, very important part of it, why people do call us in, is they're having some kind of activity in their homes and they want us to go in and investigate it to try and find out what the problem is.
A lot of the time, these people can, witnesses, if you like, or clients, for want of a better word, can feel very alone and alienated because there's lots of strange events that are going on in the place where they live or work, and they haven't got many people who can turn around and talk to about it, because for the most part people think they're being mad or imagining things, and that's no good for them, is it?
No, it's not good at all, because when it comes down to that, it's like when you know yourself, when there's a child involved in the situation, when you've got a young child and the things what are happening in the house, and that is not nice for a child to actually see in a location.
And when a child's involved, when there's young members of the family, it almost makes it it's not even up for discussion. We just want to do it straight away to be able to help, don't we? Of course, there's a sort of process where when the reports come in and we hear that there's an alleged haunting or alleged paranormal activity at a house or a property, where there'll be certain types of guidelines that we'll stick to ourselves that help us determine whether it's worth investigating at that property, rather than just taking it at face value for what it is and going in. Because, as you know yourself, Steve, we can have more than one investigation on the go, and sometimes we need to direct and focus our attention on one rather than the other, so we need a system of being able to choose which one should be the most important one at the time. That's
true, absolutely true. I mean, for situation, if it was like a young child or something like that, we put them up front first.
They definitely go to the top of the queue.
They go to the top of the list, I would say.
I mean, it's not nice when anybody's feeling insecure in their own home because of strange activity around the house. But when it's a young child, when a parent can't turn around to their own child at night time and put them to bed and convince them everything's going to be okay, because they're not sure themselves if everything will be okay, then it adds an entire new dimension to whether or not it's worth investigating sooner rather than later.
Well, the way that we normally do it first anyway, we normally go in and have a word with the family first, don't we? We go in and have a little chat with the family, and we have a mooch about ourselves before, and then...
I think, you're right. We conduct a preliminary investigation. Many times, obviously, we spoke to them on the phone or add a little bit of discourse at first, but we'll go and interview them and use audio recording devices with their permission, of course, providing they're okay about us recording their voices. Get as much information down as possible, as well as try to conduct a baseline test using various meters and stuff like that. I mean, I'll just jump quickly into talking about what we might use for a baseline test in case anybody's interested out there. When we go to a new property, because obviously there's lots of things that can be causing strange sounds or weird smells or sensations in a house, then when we go doing a preliminary investigation, we'll take 1 or 2 devices with us to be able to determine whether there's a prosaic explanation for why these things might be going on. I mean, internet routers, electrical fuse boxes, just bad electrical wiring in general, plumbing, taking note of where pipes are. We'll use stud detectors to determine cavities in walls and where there might be pipes passing through, and taking note of things like that. We'll also take a laser thermometer, as well as a K-type thermocouple ambient temperature probe to find cold spots where there might be drafts and things like that. Sometimes a plumb line and a laser level to check for uneven surfaces when doors might be opening of their own accord, is to check to see if the say a fridge door, for instance, is opening of its own accord. We'll use laser levels to see if it's at an angle and gravity might be doing it, that kind of thing. Another useful tip for when people can get sensations of nausea and feeling sick because of low frequency hum or ground vibrations that they might be unaware of. So another good tip, Steve, I think you'll agree with this, is to use just a saucer of water and to look at a saucer of water. Use a saucer of water and you can see minute little ripples in the water, and you can tell when there's ground vibrations. And sometimes all you need to do is look out of the window and stare across the back garden, and you'll see a main road with articulated lorries driving up and down it, and it's not always that easy, of course, but so there's quite a few things that we'll take on an investigation with us. I mean, normally you're the person that goes around with the K2 or with say a Mel meter or one of the other. We use lots of different EMF meters. We've got quite a collection of EMF meters, really, but I'm going to mention the meters that people know more readily and that might be more famous. And you're the person that tends to take on that job when we go to properties. And is there any particular type of areas or bits that you'll cover when you're going around with a meter? Any bits of advice you can give somebody who wants to
the main part of areas when I go around and do it in a house with the meters, I'm looking at the electrical supply and stuff like that. First of all, I'm debunking what readings I'm getting with electric around the room with electric where I'm getting a lot of readings. If there's certain parts in the house I'm getting no readings and readings are coming up, then I'm marking it down, just for instance, in case finger. It's like if we're on a main road or something like that and you get a lot of traffic and you hear cracks and cracks and stuff like that in the house, I'm also debunking that to make sure that the traffic going up and down the road is not making the wood beams crack.
The thing is, it's like a paranormal investigator. It's similar to being a footballer. I don't know, it sounds like a weird analogy, that, but no matter what position a footballer plays in a football team, fundamentally they're all defenders. It doesn't matter where you play, you're all a defender. If you've got to defend the goal, you defend the goal. And a paranormal investigator, he's similar to that. No matter what your job, whether you're the person in the team who might concentrate on audio, or if you're the person in the team who concentrates on walking around rather with a video camera, getting video image, whatever. You do everything. You're a jack of all trades, and you do whatever. You're always out to try and find out what might be the real source of an anomaly. It's not always going to be able to be found straight away, but the chances are it's going to be there if you look for it. You've just got to keep your eyes open, haven't you?
Yeah, it's like when people turn around and say the doors are banging and stuff like that. You get a normal latch on the door, but sometimes the latches are loose, and sometimes they're really loose and broke that they just come open themselves anyway when you pull them.
Yeah,
I'm checking out every part of aspect when they say that about doors. Just for my own
It's peace of mind, yeah. And when the magnetic locks on doors can go over time and things can swing open and all that kind of thing, yeah, absolutely. And you know, we're not trying to say that every single thing that goes on is going to be pipes under the floor or in the walls, or it's going to be bad electrics, but they are the go-to places for any paranormal investigator. First off is to check the actual workings of the house or the location, even on an outdoor invest. Yeah. I mean, what would you say would be a couple of things outdoor that could give EMF anomalies, but what aren't paranormal related?
Underground, the kind of atmosphere of the ground. I don't know what they call it. I can't think what they call it, but it's
the Earth's natural geomagnetic field.
It's got a magnetic field in the Earth, and sometimes that can give you a reading anyway. The magnetic coming from but it'll stay. It'll come to a point where it'll just stalled off, and you'll know exactly what it is, won't you?
Yeah, but it'll balance.
It'll balance itself.
You'll see the meter will reach a certain level where it will stay at that level, giving you basically it's giving you your baseline test, even on an outdoor location. The Earth's natural electromagnetic field at that particular point in time and location, and that can change throughout the course of the night. Because obviously, the magnetic field can change due to the, ambient air pressure. Air pressure is one that you've got to watch out for, isn't it? And naturally, it's more difficult to be able to pinpoint sources that you can't see when, like, man-made sources, because you have a visual representation. When you can see a power line, you can look at that and think, well, here we go, let's walk over to that power line and see if that power line gives us any kind of a reading, and obviously it will. But when you can't see anything that's responsible for giving you an EMF fluctuation, it's a little bit more difficult. It takes a little bit more detective work, doesn't it?
It does, because you get underground cables no matter what, but sometimes you can't see them in a field. They run under fields and you don't know they're there until you're on top of them, because the meter will blast away when you get on top of them.
You know about it when you're on top of them,
because the meter will just stay at it'll keep up and it won't drop, but you're on something what shouldn't be. It's electric.
Yeah, you know that you're near a man-made electrical device.
It's the same when you're using the dowsing rods as well. It's like the pipes, the water, what goes under the ground. It points, the dowsing rods will know. You can get the feeling of where the water is supply underneath and that.
Yeah, the use of dowsing rods is sometimes overlooked by a lot of paranormal investigators, and which is a shame, really, because they can be an important tool in your armoury. Yeah. And why cut your nose off to spite your own face? If it can help you on an investigation, you take it. It's something that you obviously take with you. And outdoor locations can be a bit of a minefield for people that are just getting to do paranormal investigations, because I think you know yourself, like I do, that getting indoor locations can be difficult unless you're paying to go on these events that are run by people, and it's not quite the same. It'll give you a little bit of a taste about walking around a location that's allegedly haunted, but it's not the same as going to an actual haunted location and being the prime investigative team and helping people out, because that's what doing investigations is about, isn't it? Helping people out.
And you don't know when you go to a certain location. You really don't know. You've got to have an open mind when you go there for a start off, and if anything happens on the night, you've got to try and debug it at the same time.
It's almost certainly the case. I mean, I think this is going to come up every time we do any kind of piece for any kind of media. Would be to stress that you've got to be your own worst critic or your own most intense critic. You've got to look at what you're doing, pull it apart before you try and present it. And I think as paranormal investigators, the main service that we're providing for anybody who wants us to investigate their property because they're afraid or they're having experiences that are causing them any kind of distress, is that we're there to help them. It's about helping them, isn't it?
Yeah, we do it because we're there to help people.
Yeah, we're volunteers.
Yeah.
It's a passion. It's a little more than a hobby, but it's a passion, and any kind of help that can be proffered to people by, following our passion.
It's like if someone's really, really afraid and that, and they've got children, and it's just to give them peace of mind at the same time. Isn't it, really?
It's good to let people know they're not going crazy, and that they're not alone. And then, if anything can be found that suggests there's anything paranormal going on, then we can point them in the right direction for getting that sorted out, whether it be via cleansing or whatever other kind of method. If it's down to something more prosaic, as it's the house or there's electronics that are causing whatever, then we can put the mind at rest there, and they can get that sorted out as well. So it's truly is about helping people, but more importantly, letting people know that they're not going mad and they're not alone. They are not alone, and we're willing to listen and help if we can.
Sometimes where people are having visions and stuff like that can be down to the house sometimes with electric supply. If you've got a bad electric supply in your house, it gives a lot of EMF out, a lot of EMF, and it can give you illusions and everything, EMF.
Yeah, you've got to, that's something you've got to watch for, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that's not to say, of course, at the risk of repeating myself, that every single thing that goes on at an alleged haunted location is down to an electronic, a stray and random electronic field that's messing about with people's cerebral cortex or whatever. But it's got to be taken into account, and it's one of the first things that we look at, which is why we use so many different kinds of devices to test for these things.
Yeah, it's like we'll do a recording, and we'll do a recording and we'll do it for a good few hours, let the recording run and then look back on it. But it's the part of the job what we do, it's many hours afterwards analysing all the stuff what we've got out of it.
The most of the work is not the actual investigation itself, it's definitely evidence analysis. Many hours of audio recording and many hours of video recording. I mean, we walk around with handheld night vision cameras, as well as CCTV systems that can be recording multiple rooms in a house, as well as a visual light recording on video, as well as using ultraviolet or black light recording. And then we've got God knows how many audio recorders placed all over the place, so there's and if we're doing an investigation over 8 hours and we say, for instance, use 8 cameras, it gives us 64 hours worth of video to watch in real time, and it's a lot of work. It's nearly 3 days continuous, like staring at a video screen, which is a substantial amount. And again, of course, 64 hours worth of audio to go through. And then God knows how many digital stills photographs. If 3 members of the team are firing off digital stills photographs on a night and take over 200 pictures each, you could have like 700 pictures to analyse, and it's
plus the video, plus the audio, and it's ongoing,
and it all mounts up. It is a lot of work. So
that's why, really, in respect on that, is why we do prioritise, like children and stuff like that, because you can only do one at a time because of all the analysing what we've got. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, no one person is more important than anybody else. That's not what we try to say, is it? It's just if there's if it's a young family, or if it's a single mother or things like that, then it's it's seen as more of an emergency. But we will get round to seeing everybody. We don't say no to anybody. If there's a case worth taking on, we'll take it on.
Which I suppose everyone out there would understand why we prioritise young children, because children are very, very vulnerable to it, aren't they?
Of course they are, and of course as experience has shown, and past cases that we've done has shown, it's when the child or the children, depending upon how many that are at the the property, are made to feel at ease, the parents feel at ease, and the energy in the house changes anyway. And it gives them a better environment to cope with what's going on, and it just makes better living conditions for people.
And it makes us feel good as well. We're really relaxed as well, that we've actually done to help the family as well.
when many
Yeah.
other organisations don't. I mean, I think most people will know that if you're having any kind of paranormal experience or unknown kind of strange events going on in your house, then it's no good going to the police. They won't be interested. It's the same as UFO sightings, you know. I mean, you can report it to the police. Well, that's about it. That's about as far as it's going. It's going as far as you walking through the door, complaining about it, and then walking away. For the most part, they're not equipped to deal with that kind of thing. And you know, the church only takes a certain amount of interest in it. It's not the church's main priority at the moment either, is it? The paranormal.
The church, all the church basically come out and do a blessing to your house, and it don't really, and 90% of the time it doesn't work.
And you're still left with the strange goings on, aren't you? So.
And there's a lot of people out there, and I know that if you're listening to us on radio now at the moment, there's a lot of people out there what is having a lot of activity, what won't say anything because they don't know where to go or pinpoint it to the people what help them.
And that's a good point, it's knowing the right people.
Yeah.
Well, I think that kind of like summarises why we do it and why it's important to do it, as well as a little bit of what might be wise to take into account for baseline tests at the very least, you know, as far as EMF goes. And no doubt we'll cover a subject like that again. So if this has been of any help to anybody, and then we'll be happy people. So thanks for listening, guys. This is Dave from Tameside Paranormal Researchers.
And thanks for listening. This is Steve from Tameside Paranormal Researchers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Around the world.
Yes.
To the stars.
Set.
And to days of future past.
Go.
This is Tachyon Radio.
Yeah, you got a point there.
And welcome to this instalment of Into the Unknown. There are two abduction cases that even those mildly interested in the study of the UFO alien phenomenon